Every organization ends the prior year with results, good or bad. But the real question is, what'd you learn from them? That's why we created the Resolute Annual Reset, which is what we use in our company. And today I want to share those with you so that you can huddle up with your team and get some real clarity for 2026. I adopted most of this from one of my favorite leadership podcasters, Craig Groeschel, so I want to thank him for this. Now, this isn't about rushing into a new year with some lofty goals. It's about slowing down long enough to evaluate what actually happened in the past year so our goals for the coming year have a lot more meaning. Now, here are the Cliff Note versions for that reset. Question 1, we evaluate our successes, not just celebrating the wins and high-fiving, but really asking why they happened. Was it luck? Or did we do something intentional that we want to repeat? What decisions, behaviors, or choices made growth possible? Because success leaves clues, and smart leaders recognize those clues, and then they study them so that we can repeat them. Okay, step 2, we evaluate our misses, not with blame, not with judgment, but with honesty and transparency. What do we overlook? What would we do differently next time? Why? A mistake only becomes costly when you refuse to learn from it. Henry Ford said it best, the only real failure is the one from which we learn nothing. So let's learn from those misses. Step 3, we evaluate our patterns, because what happens once is a single circumstance, but what happens repeatedly becomes our culture, good or bad. And what leaders allow, they ultimately endorse. So let's move on to number 4. Let's evaluate our people. Who's thriving? Who's coasting? Who needs a challenge or a hard conversation? Who's not aligned with our direction? Who's most aligned? Great leaders are very intentional with their people and with the development of their new leadership. So let's move on to number 5. We evaluate our priorities. Now this one close to home here because busyness isn't always effectiveness. What gets our attention determines our direction, and focus drives impact, and impact shapes the future. So what's getting in the way? What can we outsource? What can we delegate? What am I too busy to give my energy to, but's too important not to? Priorities for 2026, what are they? And finally, this one is really important. We evaluate ourselves as the leader, because the hardest person to lead is the one in the mirror. Maybe you've already answered this in the first 5 questions, but if not, let's look at it. What leadership patterns, good or bad, did we create or allow within ourselves this year? And what's the one thing we've avoided confronting about ourselves that could unlock real growth? What area in my personal leadership do I want to invest myself in developing this year? How am I going to do it? What does it look like this time next year? See, great leaders aren't the ones with all the answers. They're the ones willing to ask the right questions. So if you want this year to be different, not just set some goals on paper, start huddling up, slowing down, and asking your team better questions. Listen to what they have to say. Don't shy away from the hard conversations, because that's how you create real alignment around what truly matters in 2026. Listen, that's what the annual reset is built to do. So if you want a copy of our worksheet, simply request it in the comments. We'll send it out to you and email it to you directly so that you could use it in your team's annual reset. And with that, I'll remind you that dentists are leaders and how you lead matters.